Hi, this is Wesley,
This is Ka'shenia,
and we would like to welcome you to the
the
Underground Geek
Underground Geek
Shack.
Shack. How are you doing on this fine, lovely, sweltering summer day?
I'm glad I'm inside,
Same.
because it is boiling out there.
It has, let me tell you, in where we're at, the summers aren't kind, and let's just say thank God for centralized air.
It almost makes me feel like we're about to go back to school.
Now, well, you know what? With our past, that does make sense. Sorry, you saying that offside tangent reminds me of marching band and the dreaded band camp.
Those long summer days,
Oh
golly.
yes. But interesting that you say it reminds you of going back to school. Why would you say that, Wes?
Because, hey, do you want to know something?
What, Wes?
It's all about the rapture and triumph of defeat. To win, one has to lose.
Now that sounds like a familiar octopus. If
Yep, yep.
you guys couldn't get it by now, we're talking about season one
Of
of Assassination.
Assassination Classroom.
This is a beloved anime, and I can finally see why because I finally had the chance to watch all of season one. But this is a
Mm-hmm.
beloved anime by a lot of people. Now, before we get into the deep details of it, Wes,
Mm-hmm.
how and when did you first discover Assassination Classroom?
Assassination Classroom. I discovered it back. What was it? I think it was on Hulu or it was on Netflix. And this is back in like 2014, 20. Well, like technically it would have been around 2014. So it would have been
Mm,
around our junior year that I
okay.
found out about uh our assassination classroom. Golly. Assassination classroom in and of itself.
Mm.
And so, I was like, what the heck is Assassination Classroom? And so I clicked on it and I was like, who the freak is this octopus looking dude? And so I was like, all right, I'll watch it. And then I didn't think I was gonna fall in love with it. Turns out Assassination Classroom is one of my favorite shows to the point where now I can sit here and quote almost everything from season one. Like they sit there and are attacking Korra Sensei while he's in the tree. Tree branch snaps. Wait. My tentacles are caught up in the ropes.
I have to say, there's a lot of humor when it comes to this, and it's so surprising when because the synopsis of it, which we'll get into in a little bit, it's so off the walls crazy that you
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like, this is a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. But I do also have a very special relationship when it comes to Assassination Classroom as well, because back in college, when I was taking my minor for Asian studies with the specifics in Japanese culture, there was a class that I took with a very special professor, and this class was called Japan through anime and manga. Now, for those who might know us from our in between the lines days, I said this back then, and that class was basically learning all about Japanese culture, both past and modern day Japan, through the use of anime and manga, because you can find out a lot through the media that they are showing. And also, that's what this podcast is about, basically, anyway, finding out things through life through anime and manga. So, Assassination Classroom was actually that specific professor's favorite freaking manga. He loves the crap out of it so much that he has the entire manga set through Japanese because, of course, he's fluent in it. But like, he has the whole manga set, and he's just like, "This is my favorite, absolute favorite." I was like, "Oh my god,
Which I
Professor!"
can I can I can understand because the mangaka for
Mm,
Assassination Classroom is Yusei Matsui, who is
I,
so first thing he wrote was Assassination Classroom, from
mm,
what I can gather, because he wrote
yeah.
Assassination Classroom and something else. But you guys might also know him because he is now working on Elusive Samurai, which just now got an anime adaptation. So season one is now currently out. Pretty much, it was out and aired yesterday. As of us doing this recording, it aired yesterday.
So it's
So
called Elusive Samurai.
and it's more
Interesting.
in terms of a historical manga. So yeah.
Is there more? Is there comedy to it as well, or is
Oh yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's still like it still runs within. It's in Shonen Jump.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to check it out because the one thing I have to say about this mangaka
Hmm.
is that it's very interesting the life lessons that we learn from the anime, which comes from the manga, the life lessons that we learn from this entire series can actually be applied, and it's actually very helpful and useful life lessons. As we're about to explain, these kids, even though they're just high school students, and this thing is their teacher, they learn more than just what's in academics. So I guess it should be a good time to actually tell the synopsis, which I feel like you should tell them what is Assassination Classroom.
Okay. Cool. So Assassination Classroom is a pathetic class of misfits versus their teachers, alien technology, bizarre powers, and tentacles. That's from Shonen Jump, by the way.
Yes. So these students have been assigned to kill their teacher before graduation
We should
because
also
he
let you know that the anime for Assassination Classroom Season 1 is 22 episodes.
oh
And
yes.
so I'm gonna put this out now. I started reading the manga. Like, this is my first time ever reading Assassination Classroom. Like I said, I've watched Assassination Classroom probably like 6 to 7 times. So yeah, this is my first time literally reading Assassination Classroom,
Mhm.
and as of us doing this, I am on class 18. Mind you, this manga goes by classes, not by chapters.
Yeah.
So chapter 18 is class 18, which is
Mhm.
when we get introduced to the sniper Red Eye when they go to their
Oh yeah, when they
onto
go to
their trip
Kyoto.
to
Yeah.
Kyoto. So yeah.
Red Eye was that episode was interesting. Like
He
he's tapped
blocked
in with
my
a
bullet. He blocked my bullet with a piece of ooey gooey goodness.
oh yeah, I should probably say that we both watched, or have you ever watched it in sub? Because I know we both watched it in dub.
I watched it in sub when it came out, and then when the dub came out, I went back and rewatched it in dub, and then I've just watched the dub ever since.
Yeah, the only I've only watched this in dub, but actually very interesting. My first assignment in that class was to translate the first class, not
Hmm.
chapter, the first class from Japanese to English to see the cultural differences. So, yeah, the
And
dub.
the no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't
Sorry.
know. I was just gonna say that the dub is very, very entertaining in the ways of getting comedy across
Hmm.
because there's so many fourth wall breaks, so many offhanded comments. Um, my one favorite line is, "It would take me longer to explain to you what he done to this body than it did for him to actually do it." And I'm like, "Excuse me." He did this thing with his tentacles. What thing with his tentacles? Professor, what is she talking about?
I heard a
Um,
scream, gunshots, and a slithering noise.
I just have to say, like, the dub feels like it's just off the walls, but I mean, in all honesty, the anime is just off the walls. We have a freaking by the books, PE teacher that's in the fifth special like Air Forces and stuff like that. He's in the military.
You're
We
talking about
have
Kurasuma?
yeah, Kurasama. We have Irina Yelovich, who's
So in no, I'm gonna let you continue. Continue on about Irina,
Irina.
and then I'm about to give my 2 cents. Give your take on Irina.
Irina, like I'm just saying, like how crazy this anime is. We have Irina, who is like a worldwide, best assassin. She's a deadly woman known for her seduction charms and her infiltration skills. Who is able to speak like 8 different languages fluently, and she's just yeah, I'm your language arts professor. Now there was a process for her to become that, but I'm your language arts professor. I'm going to teach you communications. You're like, excuse me. And then we have Professor Kuro Sensei himself, who's just He's an Earth-born, modified, organism. We don't know much about him from
Because
season
remember,
one.
he did say he said I was human at one point.
I was human at one point, and we do see some things about that where we're introduced to his brother,
Itona.
Itona.
But so when I got to that part in the manga,
Yeah.
when we got introduced to Irina, and
Mm.
I all I keep thinking about I keep thinking about when Irina first gets introduced and she's talking to she's telling the gang, oh stop and everything. And she's like, you have Koro Sensei, he goes to the car, he goes, here's how to impress a lady, and then he shoves everyone into the car. And
Oh my
he goes, make
god.
sure you have a fashionable ride. And then he, sits there and
Wraps it all in
wraps
pink.
it up, and all you hear from the guys is, why'd you make it in pink? And he goes, and time for step two. There is no step two. And
there is no step two.
the thing is that so in the manga, the thing I like is like I'm pretty sure you've explained this to me before, but with Irina, so we have Irina Yelovich, which means the child of Irina, because Yelovich.
Hmm.
And
But
so
yellow.
in the anime, it's not necessarily explained that, in the Vitch part is, child of. And so
Yeah,
in the manga, it's like, they call her Professor Bitch. And then it's like, in the anime, they play it up for laughs. But in
they
the
do.
manga, it's like, she's like, bite your lower lip and hum, And so in the manga, they continue to do that till they pronunciate the V. And
Hmm.
so they sit and it states that in Japan, they have a hard time pronouncing the V. That's why they pronounce it with a B.
With a
And so
B,
I
yeah.
was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. And so in the manga, when they call Irina, because Irina is like, oh, well, just call me Irina, just call me Irina, and they're like, no, we're gonna continue to call you Professor Vitch. So they say it with the V, and they're like, yeah, we'll keep calling you Professor Vitch, and I'm like, okay, but then you know one of them slips up, and then they're like, Irina's like, well, you could just call me Irina. And then they're like, nah, it's not as fun as to say Professor Vitch. And I'm like, are you serious?
But like as we can see in the anime, they don't call her bitch.
Yeah, I
But
know.
for the rest of this episode, for us, we're gonna refer to her as Professor Bitch because we all know what they're saying, but we're
Yeah,
not gonna say.
right, right.
But you know what? I just have to say, just who comes up with this idea? It's like you have to murder your professor before you graduate, or he's going to destroy the world. Like, what sane person was like, yeah, this is a good synopsis? Because
The mangaka, ask him.
so let me ask you this: when you first heard the synopsis, like when you're first going through this anime, so in the first episode, it is explained they
Mhm,
have to kill their professor before graduation. What
mhm.
were your first thoughts when you heard that line?
I was like, okay, that's an interesting premise. I've never seen an anime where we had to kill a teacher before. So I was like, all right, let's see how we can kill this teacher. And then teacher can move at Mach 20. I said, Mach 20. Hello? We can't hit something that moves at Mach 20. And then you're like, oh, well, he was like, I'm a pop over to China real quick. I'll be back. And I'm like, how long is it gonna take for him to get back? Oh, he'll be back in a couple minutes. And I'm like, excuse me?
No, no, no. Remember when he said on his lunch, he's like, I gotta go watch a baseball game,
Right,
baseball
because
game in New York.
I'll be back. I'm gonna head to New York real quick. Goes to the baseball game, comes back, and freaking Iso guy sits there and throws the baseball, and he go and Koro Sensei's like, pardon the pun, but I had a ball. And I was like, all right, Koro Sensei, all right. But the thing is that, and it's funny because in the anime, he's like, oh, you're imitating this famous pitcher. And it's funny because when you see Nagisa is like, I hope Koro Sensei isn't mad at him. And then literally says, oh no, he's
Oh no.
furious with him. He's up in arms. And I'm like, okay, okay. But then Koro Sensei's like, oh, these tentacles don't lie. That's the pitching style that you were trying to imitate. He was like, but let's be honest. you're never going to be able to imitate that pitching style the same way he does. Your arms are
And
too flexible. And I was like, okay, okay, so
yeah,
he has to create his own way. And I was like, that's an interesting take.
that is because at first the students thought, well, at first Nagisa thought he was downgrading. I can't remember the
Isekai.
base Isekai. Sorry, he thought he was like downgrading his work. He's like, hey, listen, he tried really hard. He's like, no, Nagisa, you misunderstood me. He can never be him,
Mm-hmm.
but he needs to develop his own style. So that's a very interesting, he has a very interesting way of teaching his students because one, as we can see, they are all accelerating. Oh, I think we should probably explain the premise of Class E, shouldn't
Class
we?
E is the N class. So we have the prestigious academy of Kunikigaoka Junior High.
I'm so glad you
Took
could
took
say the school's name perfectly fine.
Why do you think I started reading the manga? Kuniki Galka Junior High, where you have the elite of the elite, which goes from A to D. Everyone puts in all their hard work to sit there and make sure all their grades is up to par. If they slip up even once, you get sent to E
The E
class.
class. Yep.
And that is the N class where you are down with the losers. There is no AC in the building, and
Yeah, you're up
everyone
in the
there,
mountains.
you're up in the mountains, and everyone there is a monster. And the only time you
Apparently.
can actually hike back down to main campus is during an
It's
assembly or
yep, school
during
assemblies.
school events, and that's pretty much it.
And so E class is just seen as like bottom of the barrel, but we see Professor, specific Professor Yelovich for a second. Sorry, we see Kuro Sensei come in, and he's just like, "I'm gonna help these kids, even
Mhm.
though society has deemed them as unworthy and stuff like that. They are completely worthy in my eyes." And he not only helps them with their grades, but also helps them in life because let's go over the midterm exam where the kids
Mhm.
were like, what's the point of
Right,
us, studying
right.
and stuff like that when Killing You gives us all that money? So
Hmm.
that's when we learn about the
And
always have a second weapon, always have a second
that's
knife.
because the thing is that in the I'm going at this from two different points, as you already know.
Mm-hmm.
So in the anime, he is like schoolyard now, and so
Oh,
he
yeah.
dips out, and then everyone else is like, what's his problem? And then so they walk out, and you see Meg go and grab Irina, and she's like, all right, I'm coming. And she's like, oh well, Koro Sensei wanted me to come and grab you. It is stated nowhere in the anime, go grab Irina and Kurasuma.
Well,
In the
no.
manga, it is clearly stated, schoolyard, now, go grab Irina and Kurasuma.
Yeah, no, yeah. He didn't say that in the anime, but it was said by the student, Kuro Sensei
Yeah,
asked me to come and
yeah.
get
When
you.
Meg went
Yeah,
to go grab Irina, she was like, "Oh well,
yeah.
Koro Sensei wanted me to come grab you," which I thought was a nice touch, to being like, "Hey, he wanted me to come grab you, even though he didn't specifically state it. You know, he basically said off screen, "Hey, yo, go grab Irina, go grab
Yeah.
Kurasuma,"
Yeah.
and so when he tells them, you know, you when he says Irina, you're an assassin from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Does your plan A always work? No.
Yep.
Your plan A never goes. If your plan A starts to go, we're also going to end here in a minute because we're going to start back up again.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we'll do that now. We will be right back.
We'll be back after these commercial breaks.
He was like, hey, does your plan A always work? And Irina's like, no. Plan A, if your plan A starts off great, most times it's not going to follow through being as great as you wanted. There are always going to be obstacles in the way that you didn't account for. A good assassin needs to always have things planned out, have a backup plan for your backup plan, have a backup plan for that backup plan, and so on and so forth. When it came to
Yeah.
Karasuma, he was like, "Hey, when you're teaching these students their knife wielding lessons, is the first strike the most important?"
And someone said
And
yes, but he said, but
and
yeah,
he yeah
also
he
is your
was
follow up.
yeah, and that's the thing is that yes, you have these skills personally for these students in E-class. They are obtaining these skills from actual assassins.
Mm.
So for me and for you who aren't assassins, we're literally just regular people. And for everyone else,
What?
and for everyone else who is listening,
Our lawyers
you
told us to tell you we are not assassins.
but for everyone else, in our world, it's like we have the tools that we need to
Mhm.
basically succeed. The only person that's stopping you is you.
Yeah.
And like when it comes to your midterms, when it comes to, I know we're talking about midterms. I'm a 27-year-old man talking about midterms, but when it comes to your tests, when it comes to midterms or finals or anything like that, all the
Hmm.
knowledge that you possess is basically you making you ready, getting you prepared for the final battle,
Yeah.
which your battle in the words of Nagisa, when it comes to these midterms, we are assassins, but right now we have to be gladiators.
Exactly.
And so, you
And it's
know,
funny how they actually do that interpretation in the actual anime, and I'm assuming probably in the manga they do that as well, where
mhm,
it literally shows them in a gladiator stadium while they're
mhm,
taking their exam.
yeah. How do we tackle question 4? The one thing I do like is when it came to their exam, and they were like, and Nagisa was like, I can't get past this question. How am I supposed to answer this question? And it's this huge freaking fish, and you just see Koro Sensei, and he goes, "Don't worry, we've talked about this.
Hmm.
You know what to do." He goes, "Look at the problem carefully. Go sentence by sentence." And then he's like, "See, it's nothing but a little fish. Now take that knife and fillet it." And I was
I
like,
was
"All
like,
right." I was like, "All right,
dang.
Nagisa. All right."
Also, could I just say, like, Nagisa is really scary because, I mean, we've been shown, like, Nagisa looks so innocent, so, this kid can't be an assassin, but that's what makes him, like, the perfect assassin.
He makes you
Because we
put your guard
see,
down because you're like, "Oh, he's nothing new. He's nothing special." But then when he walks up to you, and then last second, and I was like, "Whoa, Nagisa,
I was about to say,
whoa!"
I'm about to say, this kind of seems like a good segue into Takaoka because well, before Takaoka,
We
we
also
see
got to
that
talk
the end.
about Karma.
Oh yeah, I guess we could talk about Karma. Well, I
Karma
mean,
Karma was, let's put this into perspective. Karma is the first actual person to hurt Koru Sensei.
yep. And we see that because Karma is really cunning. He saw the knife that that Class E has to use against Kuro Sensei because, as he says, this is an anti-me knife.
Hmm.
Harmless to humans but deadly to me. I'm
Yeah,
just like, okay, okay, interesting, interesting. Now we have reasons to believe that the kids won't get hurt by this.
yeah. Except for the anti-me BBs.
And then the anti-me BB.
And but it was interesting because with Karma, I never thought that you could actually take the knife apart and tack it onto your hand.
Like
And I
that's
was
really
like,
smart.
I was like, huh, that's interesting. I was like, I never would have thought to do that and just walk up to, because in all honesty, you would just, if you just see someone just walk up and be like, "Oh, so you're the famous Koru Sensei, huh? Speed is faster as ever, I see." And you just walk up to you like, "Yeah, my name's Karma. Nice to meet you, Teach." Pop, and I'm like, "Oh, he dealt a blow.
He
This
actually injured.
this man is crazy." And I was like, "All right, cool, cool. We're
Very
gonna
cool.
we're gonna add Karma to the list."
But as we see, Karma is just this troubled kid he thought he had, somebody behind his back because Karma has a sense of justice, his own personal sense of justice, which I mean, he might seem like a rough kid, and we do see that he can be a little bit of a what do we call it? A psychopath.
Oh, don't worry. When the delinquents are in season, we can use Nagisa as the bait. I didn't know delinquents had a season.
I didn't know delinquents had a season. But like, he does seem rough, and but he does have like a good sense of justice, because when someone was the reason why he was even suspended in the first place was because one of the classes and the higher ups from the higher classes was bullying someone else, and Karma was just kind of like, don't worry, I got this. Nearly
Mhm.
beat him to like a shred of his life. And then his teacher's just kind of like, you're going to screw up everything. I already signed your application to be put into Class E. Soon you're going to be out of my hair. And Karma was just like, you said you had my back. I wasn't
Right.
in the wrong.
And the guy
She,
was the teacher pretty much. He was like, no, you basically messed up this student has a bright future ahead of him, a bright future, and you just messed it all up. So I'm kicking you out to E class. And it's just like, dude, like you said you had my back
yeah.
and you're going back on that word? Like,
And it's
okay.
really interesting how slowly each time in that little flashback, as that teacher kept talking, his face slowly peeled away to show the skull that's underneath it, because in Karma's eyes, that teacher, and he even says it to us, that teacher is dead to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
And
just
he
like,
was like,
that's
he's
good visual representation.
and the one thing he was telling Nagisa was he is like, I've always wanted to kill a teacher. Being
And
and that the reason why is because of that teacher.
yeah,
And it's not like, oh, well, he just wanted to kill a teacher just to be killing a teacher. No, he now has a motive as to why he wants to kill a teacher. And
because
the
he
good thing
feels
is
like,
that it's Kura Sensei, so
yeah, I mean, at least you're doing it somewhat legally, question mark.
but no, so Takaoka,
Wait,
the
before
new
Takaoka,
dad.
the new dad, but before Takaoka, I mean, when it comes to this anime, we really don't have like an antagonist. What?
Antagonist?
English antagonist. Thank you, Wes. We really didn't
No,
have.
no,
Well, I mean,
so okay, so the antagonist is still Koro Sensei because
but
the overarching threat is Koro Sensei. Koro Sensei plays both our antagonist and our protagonist at the same. Well, technically, E class is our protagonist because remember, it's still our target is our teacher. So
well,
overall, Koro Sensei is the overarching threat. Okay, we're gonna put this in video game terms, all right? Koro
Koro
Sensei,
Sensei
Koro
is the
Sensei,
Sephiroth.
Koro Sensei is the boss.
Mhm.
Kuniki Galka Junior High is the mini boss.
Because I was about to get to that, was that yes, Koro Sensei is the main antagonist, if but we get to come to the point where the students care about him, and yes, they do know they have to kill him, but through some interferences, we see that, hey, dude, we're just trying to learn, and Koro Sensei is like the best teacher we've ever had, so they do kind of protect him in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I tried to assassinate Koro Sensei while he was tutoring me, and I aced it on our exam the next day.
I aced it on the pop quiz on the next day. But yeah, it's just we see that he truly does care about these students. And if this was any other type of anime, it's just one quirky anime trying to bring up a bunch of what society calls delinquents.
Mm-hmm.
But we do just see that he generally cares about him. The students care about him. So yes, he's kind of an antagonist, but in all honesty, he's as much of a protagonist along with Class E. Now, the other antagonist is Antagonai. You know what I mean.
Antagonistic force. Got
The
it.
other antagonistic force is the school itself.
Kuniki Galka, got it. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Professor Asano, like, Professor Asano is a trip. You
That
have three
principal is
seconds. You have 3 seconds to figure out this puzzle. Excuse me?
huh. And we see Carson and just and he's a see some things doesn't need speed in order for things to be solved. And I'm just
There are
kind of like,
some things you can't solve with speed. And then, you know, the thing is that this season one also tackles how people look up to others,
Yes.
how you as a student look up to to a teacher, to a role model or anything else, because you are aiming to be like that person.
Yeah.
Think of it like, so when it came to the trip to Kyoto, right? And
Hmm.
when it came to the girls talking with Irina, and they're like, oh well, tell us about all the men you seduced. And and they're like, and Irina's, I don't think that's something I should be telling you. They're like, nah, it's fine, it's fine, we're all down, we're all gonna be killed by next year anyway, so you might as well.
And then she said, so anyway.
And but the thing is that, like, you can tell that they're interested in Irina's role as the world's best assassin.
Yeah.
And so you can tell that some of them are actually looking up to Irina when they sit here, like when they have to go into the club and everything. And one of them has the Yakuza pin. Oh my gosh, that's the Yakuza pin! Well, where'd you get a pin like that? Oh, Professor Vitch has a bunch of them, and she said I could take one after I sat there and got a good grade on my quiz, and so I grabbed the Yakuza pin. So and she's like, yeah, I really like that part of that line of work that she does. And
Yeah.
you can tell, hey, these girls are actually starting to like Irina, just like, hey, some of the guys are starting to like Karasuma. And it's like, if you have a role model that you really look up to, that is someone that you aspire to be like,
Yeah.
which can
And,
be taken in a positive and a negative way, but we're focusing more on the positive right
we're
now since we're
focusing
in
more on the
season one.
positive. Exactly. Because let's talk about someone that none of the kids, well, actually, Nagisa ends up appreciating this teacher, let's just say.
Love
Some may even
roll.
call him Daddy.
Oh no, sorry. I thought I jumped ahead. I went to love roll. I was like, love roll, my boy, my man.
Wait,
No,
Lobro, are
you're
you
talking
talking about
you're talking
the
about
Russian guy?
yes, the one who was Irina's
Uranus professor?
yeah.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about
I
I
was
was
talking
talking
about
about
him. You're
I was
talking
talking
about
about
Takaoka.
Takaoka.
No, Takaoka was a menace.
Because it's so, oh, that was horrifying how he came in, he's just like, I'm gonna be y'all's PE teachers and stuff like that. And he's just like sweets for everybody. And I'm just like, okay, this is
He said, "Can't kill you on an
questionable.
empty stomach," and I'm like, "All right, all right, all right, Taco Go, you're kind of up to no good here. What are you up to? What are you actually up to?" And
Yeah.
then when he sat there and just gut punched Kanzaki, and I was like, "Hey, yo!" Like,
And
no,
then when
no, he
he
slapped
slapped,
Kanzaki. He
yeah,
slapped Kanzaki, and I was like, "Hey, yo!" And then I think it was Isagai and another student got up and then just instantly got gut punched, and I was like, golly. And then
I was,
he's like, we're a family here and you do what daddy says. And I was like, whoa,
yeah, and
whoa, like.
just him continuously saying that one was just like, "Oof, we need to stop. That needs to stop."
And
Oh, it
I'm
was,
like,
but you
golly.
know what? Nagisa stepped up, man.
No,
So
when he
that's,
sat there and brought up the schedule,
yeah,
and
there's now 10 periods.
he said, with a new PE teacher comes a new regiment, and then brings up the schedule. We have 10 periods. When do we have time to study? Who needs studying when you're being trained to kill a weapon? Like, dude, we're still kids. We're
Yeah,
still kids.
that's the thing
We
is
need
like
to
they are high
learn.
schoolers. They're
Like,
not military men.
and then we're like, we don't leave until 9 a.m. Like, excuse me? Like, no,
That's
no.
horrible. Don't worry, Nagisa freaking stepped up, and
And
we see that thing because we kind of got a glimpse of it. Remember when Kurasama, when that episode started, Kurasama was having everyone do drills with like knife stuff, saying
They're doing their knife training, and
they're doing a
so
knife training, and then Nagisa is able to come up from behind, and you see the imagery of a snake curling around Kurasama, getting ready
mhm,
to strike right behind him. Turns around, Nagisa's freaking flipped into the air, just
flipped
body slammed
onto
him.
the ground, and then Nagisa's like, "Ow!" And everyone's like, "Nagisa, are you all right?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then freaking Kurasuma's like, "What the heck was that? Or did I just imagine that?" And so when it comes, because then it got to a point where Takaoka was about to punch one of the girls, and
Yeah,
Kurasuma came out and stopped
and
him,
stopped him.
and he was like, "Hey, yo, these are still kids. You can't be doing this." And he was like, PE. He's like physical ed is my jurisdiction, not yours.
Yeah.
And so then it came up to a point where uh Takaoka was like, all right. He was like, give me your best pupil,
Mm-hmm.
and
And,
we'll see what they have. And Takaoka's like,
and we're gonna bring it
best
up the
way
stakes.
best way to rattle a person is to give them an actual knife.
Yep. Because, he was thinking in his head he understood what was going to happen. Because he's like, I've done this many times before. The rookie standing there with an actual weapon, thinking to himself, oh my God, this is real life. I'm going to actually kill a person and then become paralyzed with fear. That's when you go in, beat them down, and show that you are the alpha. And I'm just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and then you just see the imagery in Takaoka's head. I'm just like, this man is absolutely sick.
The thing that,
Believe
like,
me.
I remember the first time I watched that episode, and he was like, and then it was weird because it's when Kurasuma's looking at his laptop. He's doing some work, and you see a picture on the screen because he's talking about Takaoka, and you see a
Yeah.
picture of him and like the four dudes. And I was like, all right, all right. And I was like, wait a minute, why is there a picture behind? I was like, what's the box behind it? And
Yeah.
then when he clicked it, and then you see all the scars and everything that was from the hellish training that they were going through.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, yo, no, no,
This
we
guy is
need we need to we
absolutely
need to
bad
stop him
news.
now. Like,
Yeah. Like it was terrifying. But I mean, the way that Nagisa was able to execute, because he says, I'm going to walk over to him with a smile, walk calmly as if I'm walking over to school, gets up to him, bumps his head to his chest, and
and then he
then
said, he
expression
said,
change, slice.
because he said, he was like, I'm gonna just walk up to him casually, like I'm on my way to school. And then he's like, and so when his head hits his chest, and then he goes, and then at the last second, boom, like a thief in the night. And I was like, hey yo, and then you see him just right behind him, covering freaking Takaoka's eyes, and he goes, I win. And I was like, hey
And
yo,
he still has that
yo.
smile. And that is just so scary because Nagisa has his hands over his eyes, knife to his neck, just with a little calm smile. And then I'm just like, freaking Nagisa? He said, oh, wait, I should be using the other side of the knife, right? I'm just like, Nagisa, what in the world?
When I remember when that happened, I said, "Dang, Nagisa has the real workings of becoming a true assassin." And I was like, "Golly, I would hate to meet freaking Nagisa at a dark alley somewhere and be like, yeah, no, I'm good,
It's funny
fam."
because everyone's afraid of Karma because it's just like, this man's freaking insane. But I'm just like, okay, but have you met Nagisa?
The one you really need to be afraid of is Nagisa.
The one you need to be terrified of is Nagisa.
He's the one taking
So
notes.
he takes notes. He actually has the makings of an assassin. Oh my god. But I know we're coming towards the end of the episode, so I want to go over the Okinawa stuff.
Mhm.
We see the kids put together a great attempt because they put together everything that they know about Koro Sensei and they
Mhm.
use it all against him. They know that his when he gets embarrassed and he gets flustered and he's not exactly focused because we see
We
the
also know that
lovely
he's
the
that he's also
collection.
afraid of water. Because remember,
He's
he
afraid.
stated that he's afraid of water, and then it's
Yeah, he
like,
can't swim.
and you're like, all right, cool, cool. And I like how they play everything off as if they're just having fun.
Yeah,
And
and
I was like, all right.
And also it's the his tentacles swell
Hmm.
when it gets into water
When
and
it gets
stuff like
wet.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had 7 tentacles that they are allowed to shoot off because
Because
of the
because the seven people who got the highest grades, I still, because he was like, yeah, I think I counted everyone. Freaking Taroskin comes in, nah fam, you missed one. And he's like, nah, English, math, science, social studies. And he was
and
like,
home
home
ec.
ec. And he was like, home ec. I was like, all right. So yeah, he was like, oh, Max said no.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
I
I
should
just
I should also mention before we wrap up. Did you know that Koru Sensei is also voiced by Krillin
oh, I
from
didn't know
Dragon Ball
that.
Z? Yeah, he's the voice of Koru Sensei is also the voice of Krillin and Maze Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist.
I just have to say that this particular voice actor has a wide range. Not only
Because
with just, if you think about what Krillin sounds like in May Hughes, you also hear a wide range. Because we hear normal core sensei, how chipper and happy he is. When he gets kind of serious, he goes down in pitch and the seriousness you can actually tell. But then, remember when he gets absolutely pissed in episode 1 when they try to use Nagisa as bait? And
mm-hmm.
we hear the absolute anger and frustration coming out of that voice. I'm like, okay, this voice actor got it. He has it in the bag.
Like the way how I realized that he also voiced as Maze Hughes, not because I looked it up, but it was because when when Nagisa jumped, no, when Karma jumped off the cliff,
Yeah,
and he goes, "What are you gonna do now, Teach?" He goes, "You move in front of me, I'm gonna kill you." And so when Koro Sensei saves Karma, and he goes, "You're a pretty clever boy." And he goes, he's like, "You're pretty clever." He goes, "But my job," he's like, "I am your teacher first and target second. My job is to make sure
yeah.
that you are, safe, that you are prepared." He says, "Think about that the next time you jump."
Yes.
And when he said that, I was like, Maze Hughes? Maze Hughes?
Is that you? Oh my god. But yeah, like that's freaking great.
I like how Core Sensei, because the rule that he has with the government, I'm not able to harm any one of you students. But your friends, your
Oh yeah.
family, your loved ones, your pets, they're all fair game. So anything you do to me that I deem as, you know, not good, I can take each and every one of your friends.
Well, the
And I'm
thing is,
like, okay, Koro Sensei is not to be messed with. Let's stay on his good side. But then
well,
Koro
the thing.
Sensei is like the most the most outlandish person out there, because when it comes to Irina, and they're just like, really, he's falling for this, and then they're like, oh well, let's just see if Corey Sensei is gonna play it off, and then his face turns pink. He's not playing this off, he's really into this. I'm like, Corey Sensei, what are you doing?
I like how they were just kind of like, all right, so green stripe means he's feeling cocky. Yellow is normal. Pink, he turns a little bit pinkish orange whenever he gets tired. So what face is arousal? And then you just see the pink and the blush, and it's like, all right, he blushes like a normal human. Got
Yep.
it. Sorry, I'm thinking about the times whenever the students were up in the chalkboard doing doing questions and stuff like that. Every time it's correct, it's just like a red circle.
Mhm.
Every time they get wrong, sorry if I continue
And
it on.
so here's what we're gonna do. So we're wrapping up right here.
Yeah.
So, one, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It was greatly appreciated, and it helps us know what you would like to see in the future. Let us know in the comment section, what do you like about Assassination Classroom?
Mhm. Because we
And
want to know your thoughts.
yeah, we do. So, here's how we're going to close off.
Hmm.
What is your favorite quote from Corey Sensei. It doesn't have to be like, something thought provoking. It could be one of the most outlandish things he has said in season one.
All right, I got you. I got you. My favorite quote to him
Mhm.
was, "I gave you popsicles." He
I gave you popsicles.
had to. That and adults need special
Special
care.
care.
Those two have to be my top favorite quotes.
I see what's going on here. What's that? You're trying to take them away from me as their PE coach. No offense, Core Sensei, but
And human.
we would rather have a human teach us special ed instead of you. What's that supposed to mean? I'm gonna teach you a side to side maneuver. Now watch closely now. Oh, and then once you got that, let's throw a little bit of cat's cradle into the cat's cradle.
Oh my god. He's just he just like it's just a plethora of funny quotes that comes from him. I absolutely love him. Oh dear, there seems to be a piece of bone in my
I hit a man 20 clicks in a sandstorm. I hit a man 20 clicks in a sandstorm. This should be no problem. Boom. And then, oh, he got the bullet. Well, he's a ooey gooey goodness. Oh, there seems to be a bone in my nom nom. Like, oh my
my nom
gosh.
noms.
And then
I was
when he's I think the funniest thing is during the Kyoto trip. And they're like, "Oh, Kori Sensei, they're really getting into it, talking about the play that's going on." And then the freaking red eye, he's like, "Huh? Where'd he go? The flowers are bathed in blood of this village." He knows the lines.
Don't worry, I got you.
I'm
I was just like,
what
of
are you
course to say
doing?
why.
I'm like, how do you know the lines?
I have to say, I know we're closing up, but I'm excited to see how second season's gonna go. I'm definitely excited. I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Cool.
But alrighty, guys, thank you all for coming. We hope you enjoyed your visit to
The
the
Underground Geek
Underground
Shack.
Geek Shack. See
See
you
you
guys.
guys.